What are some truths some parents refuse to accept? If you judge your children too much, they will learn to hide things from you. If your kid needs help, speech therapy, tutoring, medication, occupational therapy, etc. It is not a reflection on you personally. Sometimes kids struggle. That's okay. Making sure your kid has all the tools they need to succeed is your responsibility as a parent. Yes, I struggled to read in first grade and had to go to a specialist. One particularly frustrating night, my mom said I never thought my kid couldn't read, and I think she cried. I ended up getting a degree in writing, then a master's, and reading and writing is like 90% of my job now. If she hadn't gotten help for me, who knows how different my life would be. Above all else, you should be the safest person for your child. You should make it safe for them to be themselves. You should make it safe for them to have bad days or bad emotions. You should make it safe for them to exist, because if you don't make it safe for them when they're a kid, it's really hard for them to find safety in themselves as an adult. There's a time when you need to let your kids make mistakes so they can learn from them. Life is pretty short, so if they have a goal, let them go for it. That you don't get to relive your life through them. This is my mother. She got pregnant with me at 22 and married my father and went on to have my brother at 25. Anything I've done in my life she tries to claim as her victory. Graduated college. She was the one responsible. Got a good job. She pointed me in the right direction. She tries to use me as a way to relive the stuff she didn't get to do, and it's so tiring, especially because that's not what I want to do. Your child's mental health doesn't care about your worries of looking like a bad parent. If you get them help, it will continue to get worse the longer you neglect them. I remember being in middle school and telling my mom I thought I was depressed. She panicked at the thought of me getting on medication for it because she always looked down on my aunt for putting my cousin, same age as me, on antidepressants. Her taking me to the mall right after and asking if a new pair of shoes would make me happy again is what I remember as the saddest moment of my early life. That might sound stupid, but when you realize that the person who you thought was supposed to be your safe place can't handle your real emotions, it's very hard to cope with. If I had never learned to hide my sadness, then who knows, maybe I wouldn't have tried to kill myself 5 years later. I'm okay now, but it was a much longer road to get here than it should have been. You as a parent are responsible for teaching your kids proper manners and common decency, not their teachers, tutors, babysitters, etc. I briefly worked as a Japanese teacher, and I was surprised at how little some of these parents were involved in their kids' lives and expected me to address all their problems during the short few hours I had them for the week. Spoiling your kid too much can leave them really unprepared for the real world. They can end up really useless, or a bad person who genuinely thinks the world revolves around them. At some point you need to teach them they aren't king or queen of the world. They need to fend for themselves eventually. Apologizing won't kill you. It's better to be respected than feared. Your kids can have different opinions than you. You can be a parent and a friend. That sometimes their kids have valid opinions, and instead of interrupting them and pulling the "because I said so and that's just how it is" cards, they could listen to their child and make them feel heard instead of suppressed. I tried very hard to do this with our kids. We always gave a reason why something was wrong or not allowed. Sometimes that explanation was just this: action affects other people in ways you may or may not know, or often, we want you to be happy and make others happy your whole life, and this doesn't help you do that. Obviously, the statements were changed to be age appropriate, so sometimes it might as well have been because we said so. Now they're teenagers and I don't know if we made their lives any better, but I know we have a lot of great and mostly civil debates about things, and they definitely talk to me about things most teens probably wouldn't. I guess we'll see in a decade or so how things are going. That there comes a point where your kids grow up and you will start to see them as peers, sharing stories that are vulnerable, asking for advice. But once you do that, you're not the boss of them anymore. You can't talk about your bad intimate life with your adult kid while also yelling at them for not finishing college or whatever. That when kids grow up, they will enjoy spending time with you if you treat them like a friend. They will not enjoy spending time with you if you continue to act like an authority figure or someone who knows better. That your children may turn out completely different to you, different interests, different hobbies, different ideologies, different religions. Don't get mad at your kid because he likes reading instead of football. Some parents need to accept that a whole day of shopping with the little kid isn't realistic, and that instead, you just need to do what you can and take them home. If they are screaming and crying, especially if they are little kids especially have a limit. They won't be able to handle a full day of shopping for a while. Don't push the kid to the point of screeching, screaming, and crying and expect them to continue. It makes them, you and everybody else miserable. Your words hurt. If I finally hurt you with words one time, then take a wild guess who I learned that from. I tried to separate out my being upset from my love for them. I'd tell them I love you, but I don't like what you did. My daughter made me cry when she turned 18 and told me that made a huge difference. She was able to separate that she was a good person who just made a mistake. They don't know their kids as well as they think they do. Your children are going to grow up one day. They are not gonna be your little angels forever. That thing aren't the same as they were when they grew up. I'm so tired of explaining to my boomer parents that I'm not wasting my money on a luxury apartment. $1,800 per month is the new norm for where I live. I have an average apartment and I'm paying average rent. They somehow don't realize that rent is no longer $600 per month. If I can also piggyback on this, but it's not realistic to expect your kid also pay you way through college like it was 20 to 30 years ago, unless you have a full ride, are just loaded or saved up for a few years and not jumping into college straight away. You're taking out student loans. In today's world, you're not going to get a entry-level side job that will pay all your living expenses part-time. My parents sound like student loans were the worst thing imaginable. It certainly sucks to have to fall back on them. But when you've got no other choice, what are you going to do? That giving them attention is actually good for them, and not bad. Kids need affection and to be shown they are important, and that does not mean they are being spoiled. It is incredibly weird to have a kid in hopes it will make one or both parents straighten up and fly right. Don't give your kid the task of saving you or your partner before they are even born. Raising your kid doesn't make you a superhero, goddess, badass, or anything else, but a parent. I understand parenting is rough, and we have no social safety net, but I'm not all that impressed by people who choose parenthood and constantly want headpats for it. Your kids don't owe you anything. They didn't ask to be here, and lording I fed you, clothed you and put a roof over your head every time you want something your way is a sure way to end up alone in your old age. Also, when they grow up and get in relationships, it's not your baby anymore. You don't have the right to harass their partner. Stay out of the way and mind your own business. All of your plans for how you will raise your child and how they will turn out are garbage. Nothing will come close to your plans and dreams because they are yours, not the kids. If you decide to have more kids, basing how they will behave or act and what they will do on the earlier kid is also garbage. Even if they are twins, they are individuals with their own personalities. You cannot really control a person who's older and realized how much agency they have. Financial dependency is one thing that might stop young adults from disobeying their parents, but at the end of the day you can't be forced to do anything you don't want to. Some parents think they can control every aspect of their kid's life, and pushing for that is exactly what results in kids leaving the second they can. ADHD is a real thing. I mentioned to a coworker my aunt, and he was like, nah, that's not real. A doctor tried to tell me my son has it, and I was like, no, paraphrased. I couldn't get into it at the time, but I wish I could have. It's absolutely real and crippling if you don't know how to manage it. Even with meds and therapy, it's crippling sometimes. I'm sorry, little dude. I hope your dad comes around and accepts it one day. Being a parent doesn't make you an expert at everything. During college, I was in a class where everyone else was a middle-aged mom. Whenever I said anything that contradicted them, I was told I didn't know anything because I didn't have kids. Once I told one of them she was annoying for always bringing up her kids, as if that was gonna change the facts, and she replied, annoying? You don't know anything about annoying. I have 3 kids. Come back to me when you've dealt with 3 toddlers, and then we can talk about annoying. I can't make this up. Internet access completely changes what being young is like. My parents didn't have to worry about a bully guessing their security questions and getting access to all their private photos, or someone on the other side of the world getting mad that they supported basic human rights. Your kid is an individual. There is a good chance that their interests, hobbies, and passions are going to be different from yours. Support and encourage your kids to be themselves and not a mini you. Also, for the love of God, have a conversation about how you and your partner plan on raising your kid. My parents had such drastically different and bad in their own ways parenting styles. It was really confusing.